Welcome to Journey Home to Self. This is a place for us to explore the milestones, the roadblocks, the pit stops, and the breathtaking sights on the most important journey of our lives, the journey of coming back home to you. My hope is that through the stories, insights, knowledge, and wisdom we share here, you get inspired and activated to widely fall in love with choosing yourself every single moment. I'm your host, Deepshikha Sairam, and I am truly so excited and honored that you are here. Let's dive in and journey home to self together. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Journey Home to Self. This episode is a part of our two-part bonus special that we are doing for launch week. So if you've been binge listening to all the episodes, then oh my goodness, I am so happy and grateful for you. But if this is the first episode you're listening to, you are in for a treat, my friend, but definitely go back and listen to the other ones. Before I go into today's episode, which is definitely pretty vulnerable for me, and I'll tell you why in just a second. I want to remind you that for our launch week, we're doing a special raffle. All the details are on our Instagram, so go to Journey Home to Self on Instagram. We'll link the Instagram account on the show notes. Go grab all the deets and see how you can win one of the 3 prizes that we have for you. All right, today's episode is very special for me because this is where I'm gonna be sharing my journey home to self. I think it would be very unfair for me to, bring guests and talk about their journey if I wasn't being super honest with you about my struggles and what I have learned. And it can be very uncomfortable talking about yourself. I can definitely guarantee that. But I think it's really important for me to share this. After all, the desire to start this podcast has been from me being on this journey for almost 3 years now. Well, there's going to be some vulnerable moments today. I am definitely ready to share with you everything. I am a big proponent of sharing from your scars, but not your wounds. So definitely going to be leaving out some of the stuff which still feels like a wound for me. But I am here to share the wisdom. My favorite person on this earth, Dr. Joe Dispenza, you will hear about him a lot on this podcast. He says that a memory without an emotional charge is wisdom. And that's where we want to be. When we share our memories, especially with people on platforms like podcasts or with our clients, we want to be sharing from a place where the emotional charge is gone, because when we have the emotional charge, it can still hurt us a lot. But when it becomes wisdom, it can be used for lessons for yourself and lessons for others as well. All right, so let's get in this episode. I'm going to be talking a little bit about my personal journey, my spiritual journey, and also my business journey. I know a lot of my audience is definitely interested in that, since they have seen my business evolve so much over the past few years. But I think all 3 are so intertwined together that I'll try to do a bit of everything. And my hope is that I share with you an overarching lesson here, that no matter where you are, no matter what path you are on, no matter if you have a business or you work in a 9 to 5, our journeys can look very similar. The lessons that we learn in our journeys can also look very similar. And each one of us will have a different perspective and different experiences, but we're all moving towards the same goal. That is to become the version of ourselves that we truly are, our higher selves, our pure divine selves. So my journey, as I shared in the first episode as well, it actually started with a spiritual awakening. 3 years ago, I was in a breathwork meditation and I was having a very transcendental experience. I could see my mom in my meditation who had passed a few years ago. And I had some other out of body experience that were very new to me. I had never experienced those before. Towards the end of the meditation, I felt this strange sense of peace. I found myself in an open area. I wasn't even sure what it was or where I was, but it was almost like I was bathed in white light, pure white light all around me. And then I saw this beautiful, gorgeous woman with enormous golden wings literally descend down from the sky and walking towards me. She had black eyes, she had a golden crown, she had red lips, and the most loving, gentle smile on her lips. She had this light radiating from her. I remember thinking, wow, like, who is she? I'd never seen her before. It was definitely my first mystical experience. She walked towards me, and although I don't remember exactly now because this was 3 years ago, she said something like, I'm going to work with you now, or I'm going to be with you now. And as soon as she said that, it was almost like, everything evaporated and she disappeared. Or maybe I blacked out after that because I don't remember anything other than the fact that I was back in my body and I was being called back into the time and space by my breathwork instructor. That was truly a very intense and strange mystical experience, and I couldn't make sense of it at that time. I couldn't get the image of her out of my mind. I kept thinking about her. I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what I'm going to work with you now meant. None of that. And after a week or so, I was still thinking about this experience and what it could potentially mean. So I reached out to the instructor, and I had honestly gone on and on about my experience and this figure that I had seen in my meditation. And she asked me to describe this woman to her. And we were texting. We were texting each other back, and I did over as clearly as I could over text. And a few minutes later, she sent me a photograph of Egyptian goddess Isis, and I literally dropped the phone out of my hand because it was her. Not only was it her, but that image that she had sent me was exactly the image that I had in my meditation. That was my first face-to-face moment with the goddess. I did not know it at that time, but a portal had opened up, and goddess was initiating me into Journey Home to Self. This was the fall of 2019. After that, 2020 came, and we all know what happened. Personally, for me, in my business, it was my biggest year. I was busy, I was winning accolades, I was being featured all over the place. I was working with the most amazing clients. I was making a lot of money. I was doing really well that year. Every month I would hit a goal, and then my sights would be set on the next one. Towards the end of the year, I remember feeling tired and overcommitted. I felt like I had lost my mojo a little bit. But I just told myself that, you know what, I'm overworked like the rest of the world was at the end of 2020. We had enough of stay-at-home experiences. We had baked enough breads. We had enough camping inns and cooking food and wiping out our groceries. That initial excitement of spending all time together with your family had dissipated, and I had started to feel that something was off. During this time, spiritually, I had been getting to know Goddess Isis a little bit more closely. Often, when I would meditate, she would appear to me in my meditations, and I always felt this strange pull towards her. I had no idea what it was and what I was doing. I remember in one of the meditations, she appeared to me and took me to almost an underground place. I know now that it was an underground temple. In ancient Egypt, that was where the mystery schools were held. That was where initiates were made to go through intense experiences to pass the school and become priests and priestesses. But at that time, I had no idea. I had no idea that I was being taken back. And in that meditation, I remember feeling so intense and so scared, and I was so freaked out that I immediately opened my eyes and got out of it. After that, for months, she did not appear in my meditation. I did not have any experience. Longing was what I felt for that experience. Even though I was scared and I had no idea what I was doing and what was happening to me, I had this sense of familiarity. Like I'd done it before, like I'd been there before. I couldn't get that experience out of my head. Back before the pandemic, in the year 2019, something similar had happened to me. I had gone to a women's circle. It was beautiful. It was done by two priestesses that I know and love dearly. And I remember tears just flowing for no reason because I remembered that I had been there. I knew it in my soul that that was not the first women's circle that I had attended, even though in this lifetime it was. My longing and that inner pull for almost a year, it got me to explore the path of becoming a priestess again. And I say again because I know now that I've done this for lifetimes. I started working with a spiritual mentor, and that's when I, for real, crossed the threshold into the journey, into the unknown. Again, I did not know it at that time, but the journey home to self is a call to action. It's a call to action to look at all the parts of yourself you have ignored, abandoned, betrayed, all the traps you have fallen into, all the masks we wear to fit in. It's the howling of the wolf to remind you who you are. And that reminder often is not gentle. It wasn't for me. Or maybe it was gentle before and I was just not listening. I was too busy in my world, in this three-dimensional world, that I was not even listening to the call of the wolf. I believe everyone has one overarching lesson that we need to learn on every leg of our journey. For me, at that time, it was claiming my self-worth and stop people pleasing. At that time, my worth and my identity was so intertwined, totally commingled with my business. I would take every failure as my personal failure. I would take every no from a client as a personal failure again. But at the same time, it was so hard for me to feel satisfied if I did have a successful launch or a big feature, or when my clients would kick ass left, right, and center. I knew their success was their success, and it always is. But at the same time, I could not bask in the glory of what I had accomplished for myself. What I had done, going from a stay-at-home mom to having a successful business. I was so hard at myself. I still am at times, to be honest. Not only that, I was never in the present moment. I was always looking for the next launch, next thing to do, another way to prove my worth, to get approval from people. It wasn't long after I started working with my mentor, where we were doing all this deep healing work and pulling all these masks off me, that I had a big fail launch. I read a book recently. It's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. It is a must read. I absolutely recommend you to read it. Not only it is a great fictional novel about relationships and friendship, but it has a lot of business lessons in there as well. This particular instance in the book caught my attention, and I wanna point it out here because I know that it would resonate with many of you. The protagonist and the girl in the movie, her name is Sadie. She has failed at one particular business. They're gamers. They're three friends who own a company together, and one of the games that she made, her part of the game, failed miserably. So she asks her mentor and her ex lover. She says, "How do you get over a failure?" And he says, "I think you mean a public failure because we all fail in private. I failed with you, for example, but no one posted an online review about it unless you did. I failed with my wife and with my son. I fail in my work every day, but I keep turning over the problems until I'm not failing anymore. But public failures are different, it's true." "So what do I do?" she asks. "You go back to work. You take advantage of the quiet time that a failure allows you. You remind yourself that no one is paying attention to you, and it's a perfect time for you to sit down in front of your computer and make another game. You try again, you fail better." That hit me hard. And I wish, I really, really wish that someone had said this to me at that time, because that's not what I was thinking. My thought was, oh my goodness, this is so unfair. I am doing all this deep healing work for nothing. What is the point of doing all this work if it's not helping me make more money? If it's not helping me grow my business? I was so naive. I had no idea that the goddess and your higher self doesn't care two hoots about your bank account. She wants you to thrive, yes, but not until you have unhooked yourself from all that is false. And for me, I was still very much hooked. The separation of my identity from my business and claiming my self-worth was the work that happened over a course of time. I'm not gonna lie, that was a very hard part of my life. My dark night of the soul. Every turn I would make, it felt like I had reached a dead end. It took a lot of work. And I did not do it alone. I would like to remind each one of you that. I had a therapist, I had a mentor, my family was there for me, my friends. I was surrounded with people who loved me, who gave me tools to heal. One of my big realization for my business was that at that time I had lost the joy for the work I was doing, especially the way I was doing it. But I had no idea what to do instead. Not only I did not know what to do, I did not know how to do it. Should I just quit my business? I thought so many times, but I knew that was not the answer. If I became very clear with myself, that was not what I wanted to do. But there was this big unknown in front of me. And as it happens, slowly as you move along this journey, you learn the lessons, you shed the masks. I decided to take a break for real. So even though I did not know it at that time, I did take the advice that was in the book. I took advantage of the quiet time that this unknown allowed me. And again, it wasn't easy. My inner critic was so loud at this time. She screeched so bad at me. She told me all the different ways that I was not enough, I was not doing the right thing, and all the worries of the future and all the trauma of my past came at me like a lightning. Truly, I felt like I was in a tomb and it was caving in for me. I remember one day during a meditation, I was praying for some answers. I was praying for some kind of a balm that I can put on my wounds. I was praying for it to be a little bit easier. I was praying that I be let out of the tomb because truly it felt like every turn I would make, there would be a monster over there. There would be a dead end. There would be someone that would come at me and eat me whole. The darkness was very scary. And the thought that I had in that meditation was, you're not in a tomb, you are in a womb. That truly was a turning point in my journey. I had to say that to myself many times, sometimes loudly, repeatedly during the day. I'm not in the tomb, I am in the womb. Because you see, when you're in the tomb, there is a big unknown. Nothing grows in the tomb. But in the womb, it's still dark, it's still scary, but you know that you're held. You're in gestation. In the tomb, I felt alone. In the womb, I felt nurtured. In the tomb, I did not know where the liberation was. In the womb, I still didn't have the answers, but now I was in an infinite land of possibilities. Anything could happen, anything could grow there. And once I changed my perspective, once I became okay with being in the unknown, once I became okay with not having the answers, not having it all figured out, not being perfect, I became okay. Even my inner critic got quiet, as if she went to sleep. And when she went to sleep, I could really now focus on that inner voice inside of me. I could listen to the voice of my higher self. The more I heard her, the louder her voice got. Her voice really became the red thread for me out of the womb. But I had to really become okay with not having all the answers. Of being okay with saying, I don't know, and that's okay. And that can be very hard for any one of us. I totally get it. I'm also not going to lie to you and say, once that happened, everything became perfect, because no. You thought that was the end of the story? That was the middle of the story. There were so many other lessons to be learned. There were so many other little journeys that I had to take. But my main lesson was that my worth was definitely not attached to anything that was happening outside of me. I was already inherently worthy. I am inherently worthy, and so are you. When I had taken that step back and I could see black from white, I could see what it wasn't hard for me then to unhook myself from the narratives. Of course, it took a lot of work. I had my family around me supporting me. I had my therapists, my mentors. And I had to do stuff to be able to get to the point. I had to unfollow a lot of people. I had to disregard the advice that I was getting from a lot of mentors and coaches that did not align with me anymore. But the more I allowed myself to stay true to myself and listen to only that higher self's voice, the more my body got trained to do so. I remember there was this one time I was on a call with someone who was wonderful, and she meant well, and she was giving me all this beautiful advice that works really well in this 3D world, in the business world. But my body was having this instant reaction of rejection. I was rejecting it, and I felt guilty for it at that time, but now I know that that was not the path for me. But had I not been in the tomb/womb, I would not have trained myself, my body, to come to a place where I could reject the outside voice, come back home to me, and listen to my inner voice. Now, we are always constantly evolving, and I'm always going to be on this journey. Why not? But I'm sure you're asking, where does this leave me now? And the answer is right here, right now, in the present moment. That's where it leaves me. I still don't have all the answers, and that's okay. But I know one thing for sure. I know it deep in my bones. I know it deep in my womb. I know it deep in my soul. That having gone through this journey myself, feeling the feeling of wholeness, of completeness, of feeling enough and worthy in every cell of my being, and knowing that the feeling is not coming from anything from outside of me, but only from within me, I could not keep that journey to myself. I had to share it with the others. And really, that is why I started this podcast. My hope is that through the sharing of my story, you get inspired to look at your journey as well. And where is it that you can soften a little bit? Where is it that you can look at it from a different perspective? Where is it that you can turn the monsters into lessons? Where is it that you can round the corners of that tomb and turn it into the soft, that nurtured, held place of the womb? If you're looking for inspiration, I'm here. If you're looking for tools, I'm here. If you're looking for a community, hell yes, sister, I'm here. If you're ready to cross the threshold, and I hope by now you are, then I am here because I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. This journey is definitely worth going on. Thank you for tuning in. If there's a part of this episode that inspired you, that spoke to you, then definitely reach out to me, either personally on my Instagram, Deepshikha Sairam, or you can tag us on Journey Home to Self Instagram account. Email me, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Here's to never getting off this journey, getting off the path. Here's to always knowing that no matter how hard it gets, no matter what the lessons are, what the situation is, we always find home in our own bodies. We always listen to the voice that's calling to us. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Journey Home to Self. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And of course, your 5-star reviews are always appreciated. Thanks again, and see you next week.